Whenever I feel low, whenever I feel like I don't have answers to the innumerable hurdles life throws at me, I do find solace in the arts. There is something profound in the magical ability of the art form to make you feel heard and seen. It can be poetry, it can be music, or it can be a fictional tale about absolute strangers. These mediums often make you feel seen and heard that even the words of empathy being imparted by friends and family seem to not convey. Loss, death, heartbreak, failure, a complete sense of helplessness in life are extremely personal feelings. These wounds are indescribable, for nothing seems to provide you closure when the feeling consumes your entire body. A helping hand, words of comfort, a shoulder to cry on, and nothing makes you move on. It settles momentarily, only for it to emerge out of nowhere when you least expect it. There are scenes from Indian movies that capture such moments in such a nuanced and effective manner that you can't help but feel or believe you were once there, or even if these specific moments were never experienced by you personally, the journey this tale took you on has this magical ability to just for a moment wreck you emotionally. I, through this video, wanted to tell you about moments from movies that personally deeply impacted me. I often revisit these moments for how well they are acted, written, and etched out in the story. It makes me still have a hopeful attitude towards Indian cinema, that we have the ability, even if it is sparingly, to create cinema. So here is Tried&Refused Productions with 10 heartbreaking Indian movie scenes that emotionally wrecked me. Badlapur. It's become a meme at this point whenever someone tries to defend Varun Dhawan and his ability as an actor that they take out Badlapur and October trump cards, but there is a reason why after so many years we reference these films, movies that were extremely emotional tales on how characters deal with aspects such as loss. Badlapur was advertised with the description "Don't miss the beginning," and the film meant it, by absolutely providing an emotional sucker punch to the audience with the death of Varun Dhawan's wife and child. There is a numbness to the shocking loss, so exceptionally performed by Varun, when your loved ones surround you but you are still in disbelief. The loss has still not sunk in as he walks through his apartment that has the absence of a loving family he once had. The contrast of light and the warmth of conversation over the dining table transitions to the loneliness one is just not willing to accept. Varun conveys this emptiness in his eyes throughout the film, of a changed man whose life will never be the same. The sparkle is completely lost and life is just never the same. It's absolutely exemplary what Sriram Raghavan was capable of emotionally developing among viewers within a few minutes, which a lot of filmmakers could not do for the entire running time of their movies. Soorarai Pottru. When fans of Suriya talk about how in the last decade it was such a loss for audiences that they did not get to witness his best film in theatres, they are absolutely bang on when they mention Soorarai Pottru and Jai Bhim. The 2020 inspirational tale was so well crafted and acted that I believe it would have been an industry hit, even surpassing Karpa had it released on the big screen. While everyone does mention two key scenes from the film that emotionally impacted them, one the moment of absolute victory as an elderly woman lovingly holds his face after landing, proud of what he has achieved, and the other that includes Surya's helpless state in seeking and begging for monetary help at the airport. I think nothing has broken me more than the scene afterwards, shared with his mother played by Urvashi. An arduous journey to see his ailing father, the makers tug at your heartstrings by giving you the false promise that he may have made it on time. The father imagining the son landing up at his doorstep, decked in uniform just in time, only to realize it was too late. The feeling of loss is so brutal that all the spectrum of emotions, of anger, resentment, and sadness, come like a tsunami. So much was left unsaid with his father, so much of love, so much of pride in what he had achieved was never conveyed due to the ego of both the son and father. Suriya and Urvashi are so impactful, they submit emotionally with such abandon that I was at a loss for words as they narrated the words of encouragement written in small notes by the father. It genuinely is one of the most heartbreaking sequences I have seen in Indian cinema in the last 2 decades. Masaan. Life is extremely unpredictable. It is only after loss that you find yourself embroiled in retrospective thought of what could have been the ideal last conversation, of how you could have been gentler with your loved one, because now you have to live with the dread of never getting that opportunity again. This feeling of an unpleasant conversation possibly being your parting words or the promises of a beautiful future together absolutely break you when someone shockingly leaves you. Masaan captured this achingly well in the dynamic shared between Deepak and Shalu, an argument based on where one comes from and the shame associated with it, a sense of closure that you still want to fight for each other despite what society may say, and for the filmmaker to absolutely throw you off by snatching it away from you. Deepak's reaction to Shalu's body laying in the pyre is of absolute shock. The routine nature of burning bodies, something he grew up seeing, something he had become desensitized to, had suddenly changed. It's not an outburst of cries, it's not uncontrollable wailing, it's sheer disbelief. And as is the case with loss and how it arrives in ebbs and flows, sometimes completely catching you off guard, Deepak finds himself mostly numb, staring at the distance, barely being able to function, only for it to overwhelmingly appear on a drinking night with friends. The reality sets in that this sadness will never truly go, it will always remain. And this harsh truth is something that Deepak has to live with for the rest of his life. Badhaai Do. It really perturbed me when I saw the representation of anything remotely close to the LGBTQI community in the recently released Pati Patni Aur Wo Do. It reintroduced the same dated tropes that created more ammunition to ridicule the marginalized community, and one film that I believe is heavily slept on and possibly presented one of the most sensitive and beautiful sequences of a character coming out was from the 2022 film Badhaai Do. The scene arrives at a time where both Shardul and Suman have gone through an entire charade of lying, but it all pushing them to a corner eventually where they had to face their truth. While Suman emotionally breaks down in seeing the apathy shown by her father, Shardul finds himself surrounded by family members who are dismissing the sexual orientation as a disease. The scene is staged brilliantly, with Shardul's mother only being by his corner as family members skeptically watch him, conveying their worst fear that he is gay too. This scene is performed with such effective restraint by Rajkumar Rao that your heart reaches out to him for having the courage to not only stand up for himself but Sumi too. A scene that beautifully culminates in the terrace where the careful observer, his mother played by Shiba Chadda, does not say anything but just organically embraces her son. A scene performed and staged brilliantly and with great sensitivity, and I believe in an environment of token and lazy representation, this film generally gets slept on and should be watched if you have not already. Ghatak. A lot of stars fall prey to repetition because it is associated with success. Sunny Deol for many people is synonymous with angry, loud and extremely boisterous portrayals of leading men on screen who are frustrated with the system, and if you push them a little further, they wouldn't think twice of taking law and order into their own hands. Ghatak you may remember as a tale where Deol fights back against a violent and oppressive antagonist played by Danny Dinzongpa, but it represented one of the most sweet relationships between a father and son played by Sunny and the late Amrish Puri. In a scene where Kashi gets to know that his father has an aggressive last stage of cancer, he doesn't have the courage to convey the same to his father. He sheepishly conveys to him that he will be fine with just a few medicines back home. In this process, Puri communicates all the errands that need to be completed. Kashi can't help but completely break down, knowing the inevitable result in the coming days. The same Sunny Deol who we associate with only being strong, aggressive and the solution to all the problems that are hurled his way becomes this meek young boy who can't help but break down in the arms of his father. It's exceptionally performed as Sunny refuses to let go of Amrish Puri as the father states ki tu to mera bahadur beta hai na. The scene genuinely showed me a glimpse of Deol's range too, beyond the aggressive and loud dialogue delivery, something that he does not get enough credit for in the mainstream. Neerja. Ram Madhwani's guerrilla-style filmmaking is infamous in the Hindi film industry, a method in which the shoot carries on for hours and there is a culture of just not saying cut on the set. The technique worked wonders for a film like Neerja, whose screenplay was relentless and just did not let you breathe. The sequence that however truly broke me was the exceptionally written and acted scene performed by Shabana Azmi playing Neerja's mother in the film. The speech dedicated to the memory of Neerja has such a warmth, such an aching sadness of a mother's worst fear to live on without her child. They say that the loss of a parent is probably the most emotionally dreadful experience one can go through, but the loss of a child is something worse than a nightmare, for it should never actually happen in one's life. Life and its script was never intended that way, and for Shabana in that speech to be surprised on how courageous her baby was, how her daughter proudly represented the antithesis of what girls are instructed to do, and how heartbreaking it is for her that she will never see her again. They don't fling the term legend flippantly. Shabana Azmi deserves that mantle, and this beautiful scene is a testament to that. Kumbalangi Nights. One of the revelations of Malayalam cinema for noobs outside of Kerala was Kumbalangi Nights. It was this absolute disbelief amongst a huge set of people that there are such stories being produced in a state from India. The dysfunctional family of brothers created a deep connection within me as a viewer, especially the pain that resided deep within Saji played by Sobin Shahir. Having to mature faster than most, Saji dealt with the complications of his household like he were the father, emotionally telling his friend at the disbelief that the same brother he took to Kanyakumari upon winning the lottery just to see that smile on his face, to see the sunrise on seaside, raised a hand on him that day. The thought that no one cares for him anymore, the fact that no one is in his corner makes him contemplate killing himself. Holding himself responsible for the accidental death of his best friend, he reaches out to his youngest stepbrother, just wanting some guidance, some help. The sequence of Sobin bursting out in tears as he gets assistance of a therapist is one of the most beautiful sequences in film, pouring his heart out completely and crying until he is exhausted. All the pent-up thoughts and frustrations just come out like a waterfall, and it represents so many of us who never really get an outlet, assuming people will perceive us as weak, not realizing that it is only human to break down and have a safe space devoid of judgment. Tare Zameen Par. I am a boy who went to boarding school, who had the dread of experiencing saying goodbye to my parents only to be subjected to months of extra PT, a strict schedule of classes and sports only to come back home months later, malnourished and 4 shades darker because being out in the sun. I felt Ishan's pain when the song Ma kicked in as they dropped him to boarding school. My mother conveyed to me that sinking feeling of saying goodbye to me was exactly how Tiska Chopra conveyed it in the scene, where the pain was so uncontrollable that she couldn't bear the thought of looking at her own son. This moment is undoubtedly heartbreaking, but you know what's severely underrated? It's this fractured relationship between the father and Ishan. Relationship of expectations and disappointment. A father who is embarrassed by his own son's incompetence without understanding what he may be going through. The father possesses the deadly combination of arrogance and ignorance, and he gets a rude awakening when Ishan's teacher, played by Amir Khan, conveys to him the genuine meaning of empathy and care that parents should strive for. It's the moment afterwards, performed so brilliantly by Vipin Sharma, where he can't even face his own son, so ashamed that he simply walks away, and that truly broke me. This movie is such a gem from Hindi cinema. Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum. This is a movie with Kal Ho Na Ho possibly that I have the most number of times seen. I remember every dialogue, every micro expression, every moment, every choreography and song lyric, that it will forever be etched as the GOAT movies from Hindi cinema according to me, no matter how many retrospective hate threads pop up about it. One of the moments that really broke my heart and made me weep buckets, there is absolutely nothing more gut-wrenching than seeing the tough exterior of Amitabh Bachchan as the staunch patriarch crumble in the climax. The image of him staring at his family portrait only to turn around and be completely drenched in tears, much to the shock of Shah Rukh Khan, it instantly started the waterworks for me. What however is absolutely heartbreaking in this scene is how exceptionally real and effective both the actors are together, finally being vulnerable and truthful to each other. Aspects of society, status, tradition and order are completely wiped out of the window. The scene especially stands out for the camera remains static with both the actors in the frame, letting the scene ruminate, the emotions organically develop, and this long shot as Amitabh Bachchan adamantly states कि तुम मेरे बेटे हो. Mere Bete just broke me completely. It will forever remain in my memory as having captured something extremely special with two legendary actors from Hindi cinema. Madari. I leave no stone unturned in talking about the Irfan Khan starrer Madari, a movie that I find extremely underrated for it explores themes of parental loss and the corrupt systems of our country fearlessly. It's a movie that presents such a heartbreaking performance by Irfan that he himself in interviews admitted how challenging it was for him to emotionally reach that particular point where a parent has to deal with the reality that their child is no more. Irfan very casually agrees with his son that he knows his way to school, only to process the horror that a slab of a constructing bridge caused several deaths, one of which was his own son. The shocking news is processed with the actor just being stunned. The anxiety and hope peaks while going through the names of the people who died in the hospital. The camera remains static in a desolate corridor, where a father has only been handed over his son's school bag, water bottle and shoes. Irfan paces back and forth in absolute disbelief on what has transpired. The emotions range from shock, despair to absolute hysteria, and Irfan's performance is something that just shatters you. A horror that no one should experience, conveyed with such sincerity, a reminder also of how dearly missed the legend is. Just as an addition to the list, because I had this palpable pain while watching it again, I often revisit the stillness associated with Ved being rejected by Tara from Tamasha, of being reminded that he is playing dress up as this corporate employee in this city, of how he has abandoned his wants and desires, assuming that they are impossible to achieve in a world that constantly reminds you about pragmatism and safety nets. The reason why this scene stays with me is how it balances an inner turmoil with stillness. The camera stays in the character, processing the harsh truth with a serene but painful score playing in the background. The character, much like individuals in real life, momentarily processed the grief, only to snap out of it again to masquerade as the driven employee he was playing for the rest of the world. We have often found ourselves in these moments where if we snapped, we could possibly break and run wild, only to be weighed down by the expectations and code of society that deeply suppress our most lofty desires. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what are scenes from Indian movies that emotionally wrecked you. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram. The handles are right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.